Hi guys, it's Kelly Latavola here, and I'm back with another video for Honeybee stamps. This is a special post because it's actually part of the 12 Days of Christmas. And this is the third year that Honeybee has been doing this, and there's all kinds of fun things. So let's talk about the product first. Normally I show you the stamp set and the dies I'm using, but I couldn't show you the stamp set because my son ran off with it. So I'm lucky I even got to use the stamp, that I even got it out there. So I'm using the Rejoice stamp set and the matching dies. I'm going to stamp just my floral bouquet right now, and I'm stamping that in Fade Out ink by Ink on 3 because I'm going to be doing some dough line watercoloring. So I didn't ink up the sentiment because I just want the flowers. I want to be able to stamp 2 of them. And you can see part of it is getting on the Joy to the World sentiment. I'm not worried about it because I'm using the dies. Super cool thing about the matching dies for this. Now normally it's very rare, I guess, that I've seen this, and I think it's super cool because I like to mix up my layout. I like versatility. I like to get more bang for my buck. You know how I roll. In the dies, you can cut out the floral image separate from the Joy to the World, and then all of the other sentiments that come with it. So it just gives you a lot more ways to play around with it. So for the watercolor, I'm using Daniel Smith watercolors. The way that I like to watercolor is very controlled because I have a hard time giving it up. That control, and I've just found that this works for me. So I'm using a number 2 round brush from the Silver Brush Company, and I am picking up a little bit of color. In this case, it's wait, I'm gonna say it right. Quinacridone Rose. I really had to concentrate. From here on out, we're calling it Quin Rose, people. We're gonna get on board with that. So I like to lay down some darker pigment, just a line of color. Then I rinse off my brush. Then I blot just the base of my bristles because that's where all the water is held. So I'm working with what they call a damp or a thirsty brush, which means that there's only really moisture at the very tip of it, what I'm putting down on the paper, and there isn't going to be like blobs of water falling off of my paintbrush onto my project. I also like, because I love colors. Colors are pretty and it's fun. I like to do color variation. So after I lay down the Quin Rose and I pull that color out with the thirsty brush, I am then adding in, it's kind of like a coral color. I'm zoomed out here so you can see the palette a little bit. I know some people like to see the palette and some people want a close-up of the painting. I'm going to kind of give you both. So if you're one that likes to see the close-up of the painting, either hang out to the 5-minute mark or skip ahead because then we'll zoom in so you can really get an up-close look. But anyway, right above that Quin Rose, you'll see it's like a corally orange color. And I mixed Quin Rose with Quin Gold because the roses are also going to be Quin Gold. And then I'm going to just drop this in kind of sporadically to different petals. Not all of the petals are going to get that, but I just wanted to create some color variation so it didn't feel just very one note. So yeah, basically just going to go through these. I have sped this up because watercoloring takes a very long time. For me, for other people who are maybe more or are better versed in it, it doesn't. Just like Copics don't take me very long, but they take other people a long time because they don't use them all the time, kind of thing. I'm still in the learning stages with my watercolor, and it does take me quite a bit of time to do a project like this. For the 12 Days of Christmas, the super cool things that Honeybee is doing for the 12 Days of Christmas. First things first, this stamp set and die are 10% off in the store. So if you fall in love with it like I did, because I love the flowers, and even though it's a quote-unquote holiday stamp set, you could definitely use this floral image for just about anything, any time of year. But so this is 10% off in the shop. Then if you go over to the Honeybee blog, which I will have linked below in YouTube. If you go over there and leave a comment, they're giving away one of these stamp sets to one lucky commenter. So you have a chance to win one, which is awesome. This whole 12 days of of Christmas is all about giving back to you guys for what you give us all year long. And since we're so grateful for that, Honeybee just wanted to, put out a thank you there at the holiday time. And I love that. I love that they asked me to be a part of it because I'm all about giving back. Here we are in the zoomed in version. So that way you can kind of see how I lay the color down and then pull it out. I'm working with a number 2 round brush because it's smaller. I felt like these, the images were, not the image is tiny, but I guess each individual portion of it is smaller. And so I'm not confident enough to use a larger brush in such small areas. I have heard that the more practice that you have, the more, competent you feel with a larger brush. I'm not there yet. I'll be over here with my itty bitty number 2 baby brush. Thank you very much. So yeah, been preparing for Christmas over here in my household. It's a little bit crazy. That's how I feel. Not that, so we got the tree up, my $30 Target tree, whoop whoop, for Black Friday sales. But it's a pre-lit tree, and the pre-lit tree has white lights on it, which is very, very pretty. But I grew up in a household where our tree wasn't like a theme tree. Our tree was like all of the just menagerie of ornaments that we have collected over the years that we made when we were in elementary school. It's a very homey tree, and that is, I guess, just what I prefer. I want, even though my kid's ornament is falling apart and the glitter's half off and he didn't know how to spell his name that year, I want that ornament on my tree because he made it. So I think theme trees are beautiful. I really love people who do the 2 trees where one is a theme tree and then one's more the homey version. I think that's kind of the best of both worlds. But there's this new thing out there. I saw an article on it that black Christmas trees are the it. That's the trendy thing for this year. People want black Christmas trees. Now, obviously, traditionally it's green. I have seen pure white Christmas trees, but I've never seen a solid black Christmas tree. I guess that is super trendy. Because I am more traditional, that probably wouldn't be for me. But I could see how, if you were doing a theme party like Nightmare Before Christmas, that would look amazing. Or if you did, all white lights and, silver ornaments, that would totally pop off of a black tree. So I think it's cool. What do you think about the trend, the black Christmas tree trend? That's not going to be for me, but maybe it's for you. I'd love to know your opinion. We're also venturing into shopping for the first time. So Peanut is in kindergarten. They have the Santa shop this year. And so, you give them money and they can go into the Santa shop and buy basically gifts for whomever. Now, when I was in elementary school, it was a free-for-all. Your parents gave you some cash, you went in there, and you pretty much just bought whatever you wanted to buy. There wasn't really a checks and balances. Nobody walked around with you to make sure you purchased certain things. Either, you bought the right people the things, or you didn't. And then, my father probably has 600 picture frames and coffee mugs, and my mom surely ended up with some keychains or snow globes or something, which I'm sure is what my ex-husband and I will end up with from this little venture. But I think that it's super fun that he'll be able to pick something out. He was very excited. We went and purchased his dad's gift, his gift for his dad, the other day, and he was very excited to be able to wrap it. So we had to have a lesson in Christmas wrapping. He's in this phase right now where I know it. I know how to do it. I know how to do it. I know everything. Oh, Lord of mercy. He's not even a teenager yet. And I'm like, no. So I just try to be patient, which is hard sometimes, some days, motherhood. But mostly he's very good. Mostly he is. And I just try to explain to him that everybody's still learning. I'm still learning. He's learning things. You're learning things. Which would be my point if you are one of the people who watercolors but doesn't like your watercolor. Guess what? You're still learning too. And so am I. Like, this is the way that I found that works for me. But I'm hoping to keep learning different techniques and different ways to do things that will make me better at it, that will give me results that I am happy with. Not that I'm not happy with these, I am. This is the skill level I'm at right now, and that's okay. I'm just hoping to increase that skill level. And if you are as well, I would encourage you to try it. I know that it will be frustrating. I know that you're going to feel like you have ended up with a piece that is less than. Because I do the same thing. I'm like, whew, this is not a good layout. This is not a good outcome. This is not a good whatever. But you're not going to get any better if you don't ever practice. So we talked about adding the variation to the petals. I also like to do the same thing with my leaves. So the ones on the far left, I added some yellow to my sap green, and the ones on the right, I'm adding some teal. If you look at the way that they are drawn, they're clearly two different sets of leaves. And so I wanted them to be two different colors, plus, it gave me an excuse to use another color, which I'm always happy for. So for the larger ones, the ones that look more like traditional rose leaves, I did a combination of ultramarine turquoise and sap green. And sometimes I started with the green and dropped in the teal, and sometimes I started with the teal and dropped in the green. Just happened to be whatever color I wanted to be a little bit more predominant. Whatever color you start with typically ends up being the one that is more predominant, because we are using such little water in this particular type of technique. So then after that, I just used the same number 2 brush to add in my stems. These brushes come to such a fine point. They're super nice. So it's really easy to do. I actually had to buy new ones because my child sat on my other ones. He didn't mean to, and it was actually my fault because I wasn't paying any attention. But we were coloring, and he wanted to be tall enough to reach the table, and I didn't realize that my paintbrushes were in my Copic bag, and so he just sat his little tushy right on top of them, and they were all splayed out. I tried to fix them. It didn't work. I tried to, force them back together, get them wet, force them back together, let them dry. It did not work. They're jacked up. So those are now his paintbrushes. So good for him. But I did purchase some new ones. I also got I have a 2 and I had an 8. I also purchased a number 4, so I'm interested to try that. So now I'm done with the watercoloring. I've painted both sides the same exact way, and I'm going to move on to stamping the sentiment. I picked this color. It's a dark teal color. It's called Siren. This is by W+9. This is the one that I had that was the closest match to the leaves that I had done. And I thought that would be very pretty to kind of complement that. So I'm stamping again on watercolor paper because I want to make sure that the whites match. Does that make sense? Because no matter how white your watercolor paper is, it still looks different than like Neenah. But I am going to use Neenah for my card base. So once I get these die cut out. So I'm lining up my dies. Like I said, you can cut out the words separately from the flowers, which I just cannot get over how much I love this. Because I adore being able to switch it up. I love when companies give you the opportunity to make things more versatile. So I cut all those out. Here we are. And which again, this is not the layout that I did, but that would be totally adorable, would it not be? So I thought that that's where I was going to go. And then I decided I was going to put one up above and one below, and then the Joy to the World in the middle. So I'm mounting this on Neenah Solar White, but I'm going to put everything up with foam tape. So because I understand the painting is very pretty, and I did my best to make that interesting. Don't mind me picking off the Molly hair out of my foam tape. But it is still a very simple layout, a very simple card, because I wanted the painting to kind of be the star of the show. So because of that, I wanted to add the extra interest of having them popped up off of the page. I toyed with the idea of adding some sequins kind of around the sentiment, but I came back to that feeling of I didn't want anything to detract from the painting that I had done. So I just decided to leave it, just decided to let it go. I did, of course, have to add some sort of shimmer. I couldn't just leave it shimmerless. But I popped up the sentiment as well. This one you just want to be, because I wanted them all to be flush. You just need to be aware of where your foam tape is. I did have to readjust this one to make sure that the word world, I really had to think about that, guys, would be able to like butt up against those flowers. So I did have to readjust a little bit of the foam tape, no big deal. And then just slid that right in there so everything was flush. Adding in my sparkle, I used clear Wink of Stella, but there's a risk because it's wet, on watercolor, that you will reactivate the watercolors. So just dab it. Like, I'm not swiping it around, I'm just like tapping it to put some shimmer on it. And I did that to the flowers and the berries. And then I called it. That's the whole card. So I hope that you will head over to Honeybee for your chance to win the stamp set. And if you already love it and just want to get it, don't forget that 10% off. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.